What's up y'all, TJ here. In this video, I'm reviewing the Whitespace AMF Twin Snowboard. Let's get into it. All right, real quick for your reference before I get into the tech you're gonna get in this one. I'm 5'10", I weigh around 155 pounds, and I tested this board in size 155. Now, as the name suggests, this is a freestyle focused snowboard with a true twin design. So it's symmetrical from tip to tail. It's gonna ride exactly the same in either direction and give you that switch stance versatility that you need in a park snowboard. And construction-wise, it's pretty straightforward. It's gonna have a camber dominant profile. It's a hybrid camber. So positive camber through the main body of the board here out to about the end of the insert packs, where it's gonna be flat camber out to the tips. So a little bit more predictable and a little bit more forgiving. It's not gonna be hooking unpredictably and catching it in the snow, which is nice, but still is able to load up some decent energy and give you some snap when you want it. You're also gonna find a triaxial fiberglass layup. So that's 3 directions of fiberglass. But one thing unique about the AMF here is that typically a triax layup is gonna be in at about 45 degrees on the diagonals, but this board, it's laid in at 30 degrees. So it's a little bit more condensed down the length of the snowboard. So it's gonna be a little bit beefier torsionally, give a little bit more response edge to edge, which is nice. Overall, I'd say this is a little bit of a more playful snowboard. And other than that, it does run a sintered base, which is known to be a higher end base material that's harder, more durable, and faster compared to an extruded base. You do wanna make sure to wax it regularly to maintain a nice fast glide through the season, but it's always nice to see that, and a nice value add here on the AMF Twin. And that's really it for a construction breakdown on this one. Let's jump into the review and talk about how this board feels out on the mountain. All right, so getting into the overall feel and the flex you're gonna find in this one, I'd say it sits just a little bit on the softer side of medium. It's definitely an approachable snowboard with a manageable feel, something that pretty much any snowboarder is going to be able to get behind if you have a more freestyle focused riding style. I'd say if you're like a more intermediate rider looking for something to progress with, this is a board that's definitely going to be within your wheelhouse. But if you're a more experienced rider and you're looking to get more out of the snowboard, it does have enough of a backbone where it brings some life to the table, and I think you're still gonna have a great time on this thing. But overall, a little bit of a more playful personality to it. It's a lot of fun ripping around butters around the resort, playing around outside of the terrain park, or if you like more techie tricks on rails, it's definitely gonna be conducive to that type of stuff as well. But when it comes to butters and flat ground tricks, one thing I want to highlight is the way that this camber profile works together. So just by activating that camber here in the main body of the snowboard, it actually lifts up that flat just a little bit, giving you more leverage, making those presses even more accessible and making it that much more catch free. So this thing is super fun for just sitting in a press if you enjoy doing those types of maneuvers. But overall, I'd say this board is fairly catch free and a great time for butters. Gonna give up tall presses and not really gonna be getting in your way trying to do that type of stuff. And getting into park laps and just riding with a more freestyle focused approach in general, that's where I had the most fun with this thing and where I found this snowboard really shine the most. And I think it's slightly more jib leaning overall, just considering that flex and the camber profile. Definitely has a great feel on rails, locking into presses, doing more techie tricks. It's gonna have a good feel for that type of stuff and not make you work too hard. But also has a nice feel for going into smaller features, more small to medium, where maybe you're not going that fast and those fine-tuned adjustments matter that much more. I think it's gonna be helpful in those situations as well, but still stand up to some jump progression. Let's say you're not hitting jumps over 25 feet, you're more in the medium park kind of range, that's where you spend most of your time. Or maybe you're just starting out, you're learning some fundamentals and you're working on those earlier stages of progression. I think this board is gonna work well as just an all-arounder. This board is gonna have a nice manageable feel, and I think you're gonna find that it's gonna make park riding just feel a little bit easier and more fun. And if you are a little bit of a more advanced rider, you want to start to push it to some bigger gaps, that's where you might start to find you want a little bit more stability. But generally speaking, I think it's a really fun all-around park board that's just slightly more jib leaning given that flex. Let's talk about the carving experience you're going to get with this snowboard as well, and just how it feels out there exploring the entire resort. Two specs I always want to throw out there are the waist width and side cut. So at size 155, you're going to get a 25.6 centimeter waist width, which is pretty average, not particularly wide, not particularly narrow. It's going to work for most boot sizes, and still going to give you a pretty nimble edge to edge transition. But if you do run a big boot size and you're looking for something wide, White Space might be a good brand to look at. This board does come in a 55 wide as well, where that waist is going to jump up all the way to a 26.5 centimeter waist. So significantly wider than most brands at this size. So definitely something to look at if you're in that boat. But generally, I would say this board is a little bit of a mellower carver. It's easy to turn, easy to initiate turns. Still has enough to it where you can play around with like deeper carves, revert carves, things like that, and not really think twice about it. Or if you're just lapping around the resort with your buddies in between park laps, I don't really think you're gonna find this board to be very limiting. But if you are the type that wants to point it straight down a hill from time to time and really let it loose, I think you will find some chatter in the tips as you start to get up to those higher speeds and maybe feel those imperfections in the snow a little bit more, trying to throw you off your edge and get a little bit of a squirrely feel. I think that's totally fair given what the main target of this board is and given all the benefits that flex and profile give in the terrain park. You know, if you're not out there trying to free ride with this thing, I don't really think that's going to be on your mind at all. Overall, really fun out cruising the resort, although slightly limited by that profile and that flex. All right, overall, to summarize the AMF twin here, this is a little bit of a more playful snowboard, but still a very versatile twin. I love the feel leaning into the tip and tail for presses, all kinds of butter tricks. It's not catchy. It's a lot of fun out there playing around with ground tricks, and it's still a very versatile park board as well. I mean, it jibs, it jumps, it presses, it does what you want it to do without fighting back too much, and is really going to hold it down and help you out until you start to push it to those higher levels, larger features where stability becomes more of an issue. So if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, that sounds like the type of riding that's in your wheelhouse where you want to go with your snowboarding, consider the White Space AMF twin. I had a great time testing this one out. It was a standout board for me this year. I'm gonna have it linked down below this video so it's easy for you to find if you want to read more about it. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for watching. If you got some value, don't forget to drop a like and subscribe to the channel if you're new here. I'll see you guys in the review next time.